When they found him on the street, he looked like just another sick old man. His family had abandoned him, his memory was gone, but the old military jacket he wore hinted at his past. When his true identity was revealed, they discovered he was one of America's greatest military commanders. Welcome to Hidden Heroes. From which city are you watching this video today? If you love stories of hidden heroes and forgotten military legends, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. On a cold January morning in Seattle, police officer David Carter was living his routine. The call was simple. Homeless individual causing disturbance near Pike Place Market. Carter had been doing this job for 12 years. Homeless cases were daily bread in Seattle. Usually the same story. Alcohol, drugs, mental issues. He'd seen it all. But what he was about to see would change the rest of his career. On the corner of Market Street, an old man sat staring ahead with vacant eyes. His hair was white and disheveled, his beard unkempt. He wore a faded, patched military jacket. Next to him sat an old backpack. "Hey there, sir," Carter said gently. "Looks like you're having some trouble here. Let's find you somewhere else to go." The man looked up. His eyes were empty, as if he wasn't really seeing anything. "Where am I?" he asked, his voice raspy. Carter sighed. Probably Alzheimer's or dementia. He'd seen plenty of these cases. "You're in Seattle, sir. What's your name?" The man was quiet for a long time. Then he whispered, "I don't know." But what Carter didn't know was this man's true identity, and this discovery would shock everyone. Carter called for assistance, an ambulance and a social services specialist. They needed to get the man somewhere safe, but the man refused to stand up. "No," he said, with suddenly emerging authority in his voice. "I'm staying here." Carter was surprised. The man who had seemed lost just seconds before was now giving orders. "Sir, it's not safe for you to stay here. It's cold, no food, no shelter." "I don't bow to orders." This sentence sounded strange to Carter. "I don't bow to orders" wasn't something a typical homeless person would say. At that moment, social services specialist Jenny Walsh arrived. With 20 years of experience, she was skilled at handling difficult cases. "Hello," she said to the man. "I'm Jenny. I want to help you." The man looked at her. For the first time, a spark appeared in his eyes. "Ma'am," he said with a formal tone. "What's your status?" Jenny was surprised. "My status?" "Your rank, your position in the unit." Jenny and Carter exchanged glances. This man was talking military hierarchy. "I'm a civilian worker," Jenny said. "I'd like to talk with you. Can I learn your name?" The man went quiet again. He rubbed his forehead as if struggling with his memory. Sometimes I remember. But most of the time, nothing." Jenny approached with a gentle voice. "Well, is there anything you remember? Anything at all?" The man searched his pocket. He pulled out an old, worn leather wallet. I think this is mine." Jenny took the wallet, opened it. Inside were a few old photos, some pieces of paper, and an ID holder. Jenny's eyes widened. On the ID holder was the official Pentagon logo, and written below, 4-Star General. Carter approached curiously. "What is it?" Jenny showed the ID holder. Carter's mouth dropped open. 4-Star General? Is this possible?" But the real shock came from inside the ID holder, an official Pentagon identification card, and the name on it, General Jonathan Marcus Hayes. Jonathan Hayes. This name sounded familiar to Carter. Jenny quickly pulled out her phone, searched the name on Google. The results were incredible. General Jonathan Marcus Hayes, active duty 1970 to 2010, Vietnam War veteran, Gulf War commander, one of the architects of Afghanistan operations, served in high-level positions at the Pentagon for 15 years. And in 2015, he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. The family had turned him over to state care, claiming they couldn't afford treatment costs, but the man had disappeared. He'd been missing for 3 years. "My God," Jenny whispered. "This man is one of America's most important commanders." Carter couldn't believe it. "And he's been living on the streets for 3 years." Jenny called the Pentagon with trembling hands. "Emergency situation. We found General Hayes." Silence on the other end of the line. Then, "General Hayes is dead." "No, he's alive. He's here in Seattle." "That's impossible. Hayes died in 2018. His funeral was at Arlington." Jenny examined the ID holder again. There were no signs of forgery. "Sir, I have the card in front of me. Pentagon's official identification. This man is General Hayes." The voice on the other end changed. "Don't go anywhere. A team is en route." But what about General Hayes? Had he heard the conversation? The man raised his head, sudden clarity in his eyes. "Hayes," he said slowly. "I'm Hayes." Jenny approached. "General Hayes, can you hear me?" "Ma'am," the man said, his voice suddenly stronger. "What's your report?" This was military terminology. Jenny didn't understand military procedures, but Carter knew a little. "Sir, we're secure. Mission parameters normal." Hayes nodded. "Good. Current status?" Carter was amazed, as if the Alzheimer's patient had returned to his old identity when he heard military talk. "Sir, we're in Seattle. The year is 2024. Hayes frowned. 2024? Impossible. I was in 2015. He went quiet, rubbed his forehead. "I don't remember." Carter watched carefully. The man's mind was coming and going, sometimes clear, sometimes lost. At that moment, siren sounds came from the distance. The team from the Pentagon was coming. Hayes suddenly stood up. His posture was perfect military position. "Vehicle approaching," he said. "Hostile or friendly?" Carter was amazed. From the siren sound, the man was predicting the type of incoming vehicle. "Friendly, sir. They're coming for you." Hayes nodded, but there was concern in his eyes. "My family. Where is my family?" Jenny's heart tightened. She knew what the family had done. "Sir, we'll speak with your family." 3 black SUVs entered the street. Military uniformed officers got out. Among them was a medical doctor. The team leader, Colonel Mason, approached Hayes. "General Hayes, I'm Colonel Mason. We've been looking for you for a long time." Hayes looked at him. A light of recognition appeared in his eyes. "Colonel," he said, "your report." Mason answered with an emotional voice. "Sir, your safety is our priority. We're taking you somewhere safe." "And my family?" Mason hesitated. This was a difficult topic. "Sir, we'll speak with your family." But what was the truth? What had Hayes's family done? While the doctor examined Hayes, they learned. Hayes's son and daughter-in-law had said they couldn't afford Alzheimer treatment costs and turned him over to state care. But Hayes had escaped. He'd been living on the streets for 3 years, unable to remember his identity. But his military reflexes were still perfect. He could sense danger, think tactically, give commands. Mason was angry. General Hayes ran the Pentagon for 15 years. He served his country, and his family left him on the street. Carter was also angry. He's been living on the streets for 3 years. No one recognized him. Jenny was sad. How little we do for Alzheimer's patients. When the doctor prepared to give Hayes a sedative injection, Hayes objected. "No, I didn't take injections even when I was wounded by bullets." This sentence shocked everyone. "Were you wounded by bullets, sir?" Mason asked. Hayes closed his eyes. "Vietnam, 1971, shrapnel in my leg, but I completed the mission." This was true. Mason knew from the files. "Yes, sir, you received the Bronze Star for that mission." Hayes smiled slightly. "Bronze Star? Yes, I remember." Carter was curious. "General, during the time you lived on the street, didn't anyone recognize you?" Hayes shook his head. Sometimes I remember who I am, but mostly I'm just lost." "How did you survive?" Hayes thought. "Survival training. I used what I learned in Vietnam, finding water, finding food, staying warm." Mason was amazed. "Vietnam survival training saved your life 50 years later. A soldier must always be prepared." At this point, Hayes's son Jack was called. The phone conversation was tense. "My father is dead," Jack said. "We even had his funeral." Mason answered harshly. "Your father is alive, and he's been living on the streets for 3 years because you abandoned him. Alzheimer treatment costs were too expensive. We couldn't afford them. The Pentagon would have covered all treatment costs. You just needed to apply." Silence. "We didn't know," Jack said, but his voice wasn't convincing. Mason was trying to control his anger. "Your father is a general. He served this country for 40 years, and you left him on the street. We didn't know what to do. You could have asked for help. Jenny had heard the conversation. I wonder how many families this happens to, she asked Carter. Carter was sad. Too many. Elderly veterans stay on the streets because families can't take care of them. Had Hayes heard the conversation with his son? The man raised his head. Jack, he said. Mason approached. Sir, we spoke with your son. Hayes searched for meaning in his eyes. Jack is my son? Yes, sir. Hayes became sad. Why isn't he here? This question was hard to answer. Mason was honest. Sir, he abandoned you, but now the Pentagon is taking care of you. Hayes nodded. I understand. But did he really understand? Alzheimer's disease was very cruel. The doctor examined Hayes one last time. He's in good physical condition, he said. He survived thanks to survival skills, but Alzheimer's has progressed. Mason asked, how much time is left? We can't know, maybe months, maybe years, but he sometimes has lucid moments. In those moments, he remembers who he is. Carter was thoughtful. This man protected the country. Now who's protecting him? Mason answered, the Pentagon. Now he'll receive the best care. Before Hayes got in the car, he turned to Carter. Officer, he said. Yes, sir? Thank you. You did your job well. Carter felt proud. A general was congratulating him. As the cars left, Jenny was thoughtful. How many more are there? She said. Living on the streets, forgotten heroes? Carter couldn't answer, but he knew this story was just one of many. Weeks later, a letter came to Carter from the Pentagon. General Hayes was receiving treatment at the best military medical center. Sometimes he remembered his old identity, sometimes he was completely lost. But one thing hadn't changed, his military honor. Every day, whether he remembered or not, he performed the morning salute, because real soldiers never abandon their duty. Even if memory is lost, honor remains. At the end of the letter, it said, General Hayes remembers the day you found him, and he prays for you every day. A soldier never forgets help from another soldier. Carter showed the letter to his wife. This man ran the Pentagon, he said, and I found him on the street. You saved him, his wife said. No, Carter replied. He saved himself with his training from 50 years ago. I just recognized him. But the real question was, how many more were there? How many veterans living on the streets, forgotten, unrecognized? How many heroes abandoned by their families? Seattle Police Department started a special program after Carter's report, Honor Our Veterans. Every homeless person is checked for veteran background. Those who are veterans are directed to special assistance programs. In the first 6 months, 47 veterans were found, all living on the streets, all forgotten. Among them was a Navy SEAL with a Purple Heart, an Army Ranger with a Bronze Star, and a Marine who was a Medal of Honor nominee. All their stories were the same. Families can't take care of them, don't know about government assistance, veterans are forgotten. Every time Carter found one, he remembered General Hayes, and every time he thought, these men protected our country, now let's protect them. The program was so successful that other cities began implementing it. It was called the Hayes Protocol, because sometimes all it takes to save someone is to see them. And sometimes the greatest heroes are found in the most unexpected places. General Hayes is still alive today. He's fighting Alzheimer's, but with honor. And every morning, whether he remembers or not, he continues to perform the salute. Because real soldiers never give up. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. We'll continue sharing the stories of these forgotten heroes. Remember, every person you see on the street might once have been someone's hero.